Hello ladies and gents, welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Thanks very much as always for tuning in. Now before we get into this video, a large number of you guys aren't actually subscribed, which is shocking. So please make sure you hit that red subscribe button down below. Even if you're getting notified of my uploads at the moment, doesn't necessarily mean you're subscribed. So please make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Let's get to 100k before the end of 2020. I think we can do this. So today we're going to be getting the Ansmann Virus up to scratch. We got to install the engine and get him all ready to go. In the previous part of this video we installed the electronics and the servos, gave him a clean and got him ready to rock and roll. So we just got to get an engine in here and then we're good to go. Now this is the engine I've gone for. It's basically a Force 21 sized engine in disguise, which those of you who are familiar with Ansmann cars will know that these used to come with the RNA 21 sized engines. Those were Force engines in disguise as well. This has been sent out to me by a brand new model shop. Now I think you would all agree that we definitely need more hobby shops in this country. I don't have a local hobby shop at all, so actually everything I order RC related I have to buy online. So I got in touch with these guys called DC Models. They're opening up a brand new hobby shop. I'll pop the details just at the bottom of the screen here now. Please click on the link, sign up to their email marketing, and then you will get notified of when the store is open. Plus they've said to me that we probably can set up some kind of discount code for all of my viewers, which is going to be absolutely grand. So please click the link, please support them, and let's get down to business. Now you guys have seen lots and lots of engine installation tutorials, so this one isn't necessarily going to be a tutorial. I'm just going to show you the process, get the engine installed, and then of course fire him up for the very first time. Now the parts I've gone for are all of the parts specific to the car. Lots of people message me asking which clutch do I need for this engine, etc. Well actually all of these clutch components, they are car specific rather than engine specific. So I've actually gone with all of the stuff here, all of the parts directly from Ansmann. That way we know that it's going to fit the car and the gear ratio is going to be correct as well. So I've just popped in my piston locking tool just to help us to tighten up the flywheel. Flywheel slides on, followed by the locking thing here. Let's just remove this screw. So just a touch of thread lock on the threads just to stop it coming loose. I've never had one of these come loose, but you know, it does happen, so just slide that on there like so. Take the tool. Lovely, so that's all tightened up. Next thing we need to do is install our clutch shoes. Now you can actually get a clutch installation tool which just helps you to install the springs nice and easily. I always manage to do it without the tool, so I've got no reason for a tool really. So this is how we install the spring. So the spring goes in this way, and then we slide it on to there, and then what we need to do is we need to get this little part of the spring outwards, and then that holds the clutch shoe in. So I'm going to go ahead and install those 3 shoes, and I'll be back to you in a couple of minutes when that's done. Okay, that's the clutch shoes installed. Now we're going to install our clutch bell. Okay, we obviously need a couple of washers on there, so let's have a look, see if we can find some of those. Okay, a couple of washers installed, and you can now see that the clutch bell is spinning very freely. All we need to do now is just put on our securing screw, and again we need to use a little bit of thread lock on this one. This one, very important to use the thread lock, because if this comes loose whilst you're running, then it probably end up stripping your spur gear and clutch bell, so we need to be really careful, make sure this is done up nice and tight and with a little bit of thread lock on there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and install this screw. Okay, so let's now remove the body shell. We're now in a position to have a little look to see what it's going to look like. I've just got my 4 engine mount screws underneath, so let's just take these 4 out so that we can sit the engine in there and just make sure everything lines up. So with the engine in its position, you can see that the gear mesh is going to work nicely. Spur gear and clutch bell line up really nicely. So I'm going to go ahead now and install the 4 engine mount screws on the underside. I'm going to use a little bit of thread lock on all 4 of those, and then I'll see you again in a couple of moments when we're ready to move on to the next step. Okay, so the engine is now installed in place. Gear mesh is set real good, so I'm going to now slide on this Pico manifold, which came off one of the other cars. I can't remember which one actually. It was one of the ones that I bought off eBay. So I'm going to reuse it on here. So we've got a nice tuned pipe. Just going to slide that on there, and now I just need to find an exhaust spring. I've just found an exhaust spring, so I'm hoping that this one is going to be the correct length for this engine, because they do vary. So let's have a little look. Hopefully this one will fit. Okay, so exhaust is now installed. Next thing I'm going to do is just connect up the fuel line onto here. And then the throttle linkage, which we might need to adjust in a second. Can check that in a few moments. Next I'm just going to remove the piston locking tool and pop in a glow plug. I'm going to be using a Fastrax Platinum number 5 glow plug for this engine, and we're going to be running it on 25% OptiFuel RTR blend on this one, and installing it into the engine. Remember, with glow plugs, they don't need to be stupidly tight. I normally do them up to there, and then just go like that, and that's plenty. Just check. That's good. Lots of compression, which is fairly typical with one of these engines. So I'm just going to grab the radio now and just observe how the carb is opening. We might need to adjust this servo slightly. So that's actually working pretty much spot on. If I pull the trigger, you can see the carb is opening, and it's then returning back to its fully closed position with an idle gap of about 1.5 millimeters when it stops. So that's lovely. No adjustment needed. Okay, so all that's left to do then is fire him up for the very first time. So like I said, we're going to be using OptiFuel RTR blend today. 25%, probably one of my favourite fuels. I did start using a race blend fuel, but I don't know, it's only 9% oil, whereas this one I think is like 15 or something. And I just felt like it was pushing the engines unnecessarily. You know, I don't race, so it just seemed a little bit silly. So I've reverted back to my OptiFuel 25% RTR blend. So let's fill up the tank. Now obviously we do need to do the braking in procedure, so for this tank I'm just going to be letting the engine idle for 1 full fuel tank, and then next time we will move on to doing the full brake-in procedure. So let's try and prime the engine, pull the starter, then I'm hoping, with a bit of luck, we get some fuel coming through. Yep, here it comes. Lovely, there's fuel in there now. Now these engines typically are very high on compression, so I'm going to preheat the engine now up to around 80 degrees Celsius. Okay, good stuff. So I've just spent about 5 minutes preheating. We're up to a temperature of 80 degrees Celsius there, which is pretty perfect. So let's fire him up. So this car, bought it for 50 quid off eBay, replaced the spur gear, rebuilt the central differential gearbox. Engine kindly sent to us out by DC Models. Details down below. So let's fire him up then. Let's see how easy this one is to start using my 4500 mAh igniter. Let's see. I'm going to do a little bit more priming and then open up the idle gap just a little bit more. So that's that done. Little bit more idle, not much. Just a fraction, and be prepared to turn the idle back down again. Oh, nearly there. Remember, it's a new engine, so